What's up, Rockstars? I have a huge news video for you guys today. We have some amazing campaigns to show off. We have some updates, some things that you are concerned about when it comes to like fraud and all sorts of stuff. You guys are really worried about some stuff I'm going to cover. And of course, some new Sankokushin stuff. Before we get into all that, a huge thank you to my sponsor, GameWorkCreate. They are a long-time channel partner, and they have an awesome service I want to show you guys about. Not only can you get a whole bunch of Kickstarter versions of board games, they've been doing that for a long time. So if you miss something, if you want something, they have it. But they also have been really focused on their RPG book and accessories, and this whole section is actually kind of new, and they're really trying to show off all the stuff they're doing for that. So if you were into tabletop RPGs, you might find something cool in that section. Of course, they also have some stuff like a Mental Health charity benefit, so you can get this amazing bust and actually help support a cause. You can, of course, get some 3D printed models for fairly cheap too. Like I said, you can get a giant one for like $37, or you can get some like really fancy ones for $8, even some characters and stuff for $7. So if you're looking to have some cool minis for your D&D or to proxy or anything like that, you can take a look there. And of course, go ahead and put your subscription there. Every now and then we do some giveaways here. We just recently did a $50 gift card to one of you guys. So as a viewer, you get to benefit from it too, and you get to find out if they have any cool stuff on offer. So feel free to sign up for their newsletter there as well. Link down in the description below. Thank you so much. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. We got Mordred. I'm going to zoom through these because I really want to talk about some of the other ones, and there's not a huge update to a lot of these. Mordred is at right around 371,000. Looks like they're probably going to at least reach over 400,000, which is, I think, what at least one of my patrons kind of guessed at, though I think it's going to go a little above that because they still haven't done the all-in yet. But if you look down here, see it's not the one pledge, they did add one more expansion, so I want to show you that real quick. We just got to scroll through all the other stuff. This is all the stretch goals, by the way, so they definitely have been adding a whole bunch there. But this new one here, and now $60 expansion. So they have the $25 art book that's new. Since I covered the 30, I covered the 50, now we have a 60. It has 3 new factions and this cool mini here, but really that's about what you're expecting. It's pretty much more like this with a few more minis, and therefore $10 more. That's kind of how that works. And they do have a little Kickstarter exclusive, just a bit there, because otherwise these retail, right? So you don't have to worry about that. But they did throw a little gotcha in there to try and get you to upgrade. That's kind of the whole idea. Ideally, they're offering a good enough of a deal to where they don't feel the need to do that, but it is come on after all. And if they can squeeze out a bit more, that's kind of the goal there. That's why you get the one KSE in there, and a paid expansion. Lovely. Shadows of Brimstone, Lost Tombs, and the Hell Train. I recently did an unboxing of this. It was over an hour long, very in-depth. That's because there was a lot, and that was just like the main pledge, which is where I'm at right now. Just this main pledge is already a ton of game. So, yeah, feel free to check that out. I'll link down to that in the description below as well. I'm not going to have a review out in 4 days, so that's just not going to happen. It's way too big of a game. I need to get back into it. But that's the hope. So I will at some point, probably during the Pledge Manager, it's almost at 1 million. Been doing quite well, 3,000 backers, and still 4 days to go. They have added a few things as well. So let's go ahead and scroll down there, the long Kickstarter scroll we all know and love. All these stretch goals, they have a lot, guys, a lot of stretch goals. They just pump this stuff. If you recall, this was something that was the last thing they mentioned. They did show a few more now, so they have some social stretch goals here that they'll show. The Sideways Head, always a fan, always a fan. So their add-ons, they have Egyptian Desert and Snowy Mountains Railroad Board Pack. That's fun, I suppose. They had this one. We have the Pulp Adventures Allies set, so some new allies to show up. And then Riders of the Storm enemy pack with this big bad boy over here. Definitely does not look like a pleasant guy to fight. So that's kind of where they're at right now. I'm sure they'll add some more. And of course, there'll be plenty in the Pledge Manager as well. And so we have the Sword and Sorcery Abyssal Legends. We're at 263,000. So 3 days to go. Not a huge change here or anything like that. So just kind of again, I believe this is the last bit of whatever story arc they're going through. They do I feel like this didn't show as much as it did before. So I appreciate all the show that they're doing. And then they also have stuff like mystery goals, which is just themed more than anything else. It sounds like it's like, oh, I don't know what it is, but no, it's just themed. So anyway, they have a whole bunch of stuff here. Obviously, they're showing you the game and all that. They're an indie dev, so they'll show you the game. They do have some of these like add-ons like Dungeon Walls and the Arthur Hero Pack and the Asteria Hero Pack and the Hero Dashboards, right? So they got a few of those. They had a few of these before, but not nearly as much. There's quite a bit. But they're like little things like $12 for some doors and chests, stuff like that. Nothing like too big, though it does all add up. So keep in mind if you're adding them. Cyclades Legendary Edition is at 766,000, doing quite well. Still 16 days to go. So they are rocking it. They're doing awesome. And it just goes to show the love that this game still has. That, and they have some great, like, hey, look at everything you're getting, right? Like, that's awesome, right? So showing stuff like that, very, very good. You can see their pledges here. The ultimate pledge is 120, so it's actually quite cheaper for what you get. And of course, they have all this stuff as well. The different minis and stuff. I haven't shown all of these off, but yeah, they've just been doing a whole lot. Here's all the miniatures you get, and then of course a whole lot of repeats for your little troops and guys on the board and stuff like that. So they show the meeple stuff. You can see they do have some gold medal coins, but really, look, add-ons, just that. Not too shabby. Whole lot of stretch goals, right? So they've been doing a lot in here for that. So that's cool. So definitely doing quite well. Now let's go ahead and get to another new offering. This is kind of weird. Okay. So we all got this email. At least I did. I know a lot of you did, for Black Rose Wars Duel Lex for $40, 40 euro actually. So that'll translate to even more bucks. But don't worry, for $40 you get something free. They're trying. So this is very interesting. First of all, I don't like all the bold. It reminds me of, like, remember back when people would write blogs and every other word was like a hyperlink? Yeah, it reminds me kind of like that. But yeah, you can see the rule book, right there. They do have some cool minis and stuff. This is like a quick 1v1 if it's going to load. What the heck? What a slow website. Definitely kind of cool. He's wearing a very pretty dress, so I do dig that. My understanding is this is kind of like a quick way to play a little skirmish almost in Black Rose Wars. But it's on their pledgemanager.games website, which is always kind of weird. So when you go there, it shows like, hey, it's made like $0 on Kickstarter because this Black Rose Wars Duel X was never on Kickstarter. This is a new thing. Now, the reason I'm kind of covering this, the reason it's kind of weird, is because they're like really behind. Like Nova Aetus Renaissance hasn't delivered. The Breach hasn't delivered. The Black Rose Wars hasn't delivered. Now they were originally going to deliver a while back. Now it's September of 2023. So a solid year late on there. And then multi-year late on the Nova Aetus Renaissance, I believe at this point. Either way, it's been a while. Like they are well behind. But while being behind, they made this new thing that you can have for limited edition variant cover and stuff. And if you want it, that's fine. Just know that this is a company that's not super focused on delivery, right? If they're making whole new things to offer and stuff like that, and I do kind of worry that this kind of stuff is just there to keep them afloat, right? No company's going to come out and say it, but anytime I see any new product added to the Pledge Manager, unless it's Flying Frog Studios, probably. They do it all the time and they have for forever. But like, I always worry. Like anytime even Awakened Realms does it, I'm like, do you just need more money? So you're now offering another purchase like a year afterwards in the Pledge Manager. Right? Sometimes they'll do like the Resin Arthur, King Arthur mini. You might remember that, stuff like that. So I don't know. It worries me. It worries me. So I guess that's my thoughts on it. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's worrisome that a company like Ludus Magnus Studio, who, has traditionally been trying to not be so dependent on Pledge Manager, but with little success, kind of like Mythic Games was for a while. Not to throw them in the same bucket, but they've been trying to do what Mythic Games was trying to do and failed at it. And as far as I can tell, Ludus Magnus Studio not the best at it either so far, which is to get like a retail presence and stuff like that. So they kind of survive off this. So if they haven't had any money influx into the company in a while, I can see them producing something like this to buy. It's got some renders is all it has. I mean, if this is supposed to start at the end of November 2023, that's in a couple months. Why can't you show me a real picture of this? Right? Like why all the renders? Like show me the game, the real game, if there is such a thing. So I just worry. So just letting you guys know. Now, something not to worry about, or maybe kind of worry about. Sandy Peterson Game Studio has more than even an angel investor. This is weird. So first of all, this is kind of funny. Worldwide fulfillment processing without further delay. And then you see stuff like, waiting, right? So there's still several things where they're like, actually there is some delay. But this is really weird. So it says here we have secured funds from a fan who wishes to remain anonymous, which will allow us to fulfill all remaining backer orders of Cthulhu Wars Onslaught 4. So that is huge. That means that essentially the Palette Wars thing, done. Anybody who gave money gets a refund. They are paying for everybody to get their product. Now, normally, the reason I say angel investors, because they're still an investor, essentially they typically have a really good pulse on what can maybe get them some money. At the end of the day, they are still an investor, but they do kind of come out of the woodwork and just help you out if you're having some problems. So I'm assuming there will be changes. In fact, they say here, in addition to securing funding for the back fulfillment, in other words, there was a stipulation here, right? You can read into this. Essentially, somebody gave them money, but had some stipulations. Hey, I want to give you money, but we are penning an agreement that would mean the biggest shift ever to transpire for us. Here's all I can say at the moment. It'll be huge. It'll be entirely good. And it'll paint a clear picture on the other outstanding Kickstarter projects as well. So more news coming in weeks, especially heading into Gen Con. So we will find out. I will definitely let you guys know. Kind of a crazy turn of events after all these years. Somebody's like, look, I'm going to pay for everybody to get their game. Minus some delays, obviously. What this means, I don't know. Definitely a weird way to do it. I suppose if for some reason you are the investor and you're watching me talk about you right now on here, I would love to have a conversation with you anonymously. I don't even necessarily need to share what we talk about. I certainly would never share your identity, but I'd love just to hear from you, to hear kind of what your thoughts are on the situation, what caused you to do that. It'd be invaluable to me just to know kind of what people are looking at and how they're trying to help. And I imagine you have a very unique perspective on things. So I'd love to hear from you. Again, obviously it would all remain anonymous, but that's my plea to whoever this person is, or if you know who the person is, maybe see if you can't get me into contact with them in some way, shape, or form. I would love to have a conversation, whether that's a phone call, a video, email, whatever floats your boat. Again, still remain anonymous. I would love to see what the thought process is behind this. And maybe I could help share that a little bit, maybe not. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, that's crazy. So congratulations. You guys get your games. That's a good thing for consumers regardless. Kind of. Yes, no. So short term, it's good, right? People get their game. Long term, it's another company that fails at being a company, bailed out and continue to do business, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Like as bad as it was this last year and a half now, really though, it has been about half a year. So really last year was really rough. 2022 was really rough with me having to cover companies going under. And as bad as that is, like it's almost, it's kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? Like it's better to do it than have them continue on like something like Mythic Games where they continue to produce things and then eventually peter out, kind of like Peterson Games. Like it's one of those things where maybe the weak should die off. And I know that sounds kind of rough and cruel, but I think for consumers and for the industry, it's good to have really good, well-run businesses making really good, well-made games. That's the ideal. And if you're feeling at either end of those, maybe you shouldn't, maybe it's okay if you go away, right? So we'll see long-term what this means. Hopefully this is a change to the business as well, and they don't just get in the same boat that they did before, again, once prices go up for whatever reason. Okay, another weird thing. Rome Total War, I always say that. Total War Rome, the board game. Video unavailable. What's going on? In fact, if you try to look up other videos made from them, also down. This happens all the time. It's really frustrating. And people might be wondering, hey, what's going on? Well, in the update, you can find out what's going on. It's now owned by CC Games. Before it was the Plastic Soldier Company Games, I think, PSC Games. Pretty much went under by the looks of it. And now the designer of the game actually owns this company. And so they have essentially a big blurb about what they are. They have this over here, right? So it's Simon, who's the owner, founder, and now designer, or the designer and now owner. And then the project management, we have the internationalization, that word. We have the finance, the logistics, artwork and models, and solo co-designer. I guess the only worry I have is this still seems like quite a few people if they're full-time. Like, Are you actually listing full, like, do you have artwork and models as full-time employees? Is that actually what you need to do? Like ideally it's just some designers, and then I don't know. It seems like a big company still. I mean, this thing only sold 683,000, right? Which may seem like a lot, except that's not all profit. And so of all the stuff that comes out to actually make the game, all that's left is profit. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 people on your company doing this. Now, obviously there's retail, there's other stuff going on as well, but that still kind of worries me a little bit. But either way, they've kind of taken over. So probably a good thing if there were some issues. Again, good to get rid of the bad management, bring in the good management. Hopefully that's better. And Simon seems to be doing a really good job at this. And they've been saying this for a while. Like this is from 627, and they had a few things earlier. I just didn't cover it. Again, if you see stuff like this, let me know. I'd love to share it with you guys so I can communicate. But don't be freaked out if you see the whole video unavailable thing on a lot of their stuff. It's kind of unfortunate you can't see that stuff anymore, but it's really like the YouTube account is gone, right? Like literally, they killed it. PSC Games channel, no more. So there's that. Now, there is some weird stuff here like this. This was back in March 29th. And it's Simon Hall, the designer, saying, I was lucky enough to be one of the people that backed this, blah, blah, blah. Tied under a recent new tester. Stop worrying. It's all fine. And so people are like, hello? Sometimes there's a worry that people essentially, and this has happened before, I've covered it at least twice in the years I've done it, so it's not super common, where they will log in as another account to make something seem like, in other words, fake buzz, fake comments, stuff like that. So like the designer will come in, log in at a different account, and post as if they're not the designer. That has happened before in the board game crowdfunding space. So there is precedent for that. And every now and then, normally they get found out because they forget to swap accounts and they post it under the normal account. That's the worry here. This seems weird. But I will say, here's another one. It says another brand new tester comment. And again, right here, he did the same thing. This is him essentially putting somebody's comment on here. The problem is he didn't label it well. Now that you could still get in trouble for that. So ideally he edits this, and this one just to make it more clear. But if I want to read, especially with this one, another brand new tester comment is he's putting comments that testers are having on the BGG forums, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's great to get that word out there. You'll see it often in little blurbs, BGG tester, or whatever, on campaigns as well. Not everybody's going to go on BGG and put it there. So it's fine to put it there, but you do need to really label it as this is another, like you should have an introduction from Simon saying, here's another comment that a recent tester had that I wanted to share with you guys here on BGG. And then in quotes, put it there. There's no quotes or anything here, so people get confused. Like, why are you saying this, right? So that's the confusion there. I think it's an innocent mistake, but because not everybody's thinking in that headspace, not everybody is used to doing stuff like this. Like, I've done this game enough to kind of know to look for these things, but other people haven't. Simon, I'm sure, hasn't. So just as an FYI, you should make that really obvious what's going on there, just to not scare people and confuse people. All right, next up we have a Sankokushin update. This is going to be kind of a weird update. I'll talk about it in a moment. The big thing here is they are opening up the shop, so that will have the miniature pre-order. This is their new miniature, by the way. It's this lady kind of like standing on her hands with like her legs up in the air. Very unique mini. I've only seen, I think, maybe one other mini design like that where they're upside down like this. In this kind of pose. There's others that are like in like karate moves, where often they're on their hands with the legs in the air. I've seen that several times. But either way, still fairly unique, pretty cool. They'll also have STL files. Now, those STL files will never be their resin ones, but they will have STL files. I'm a super fan of that, actually, so that's cool. And that'll be launching in August 22nd, which will be when this miniature is up. So you'll be able to see that coming up August 22nd. That's the big news thing. Obviously, there's no board game stuff at all, but they'll have like an art card, they'll have a lore card, and they'll have that mini. The reason I'm not going through the whole thing is because I've noticed this tendency more and more. So when Tomoe, I think is how you pronounce it, let me know if I'm doing that right, ish, with this heavy English accent, obviously, started out great, I thought. Super cool mini, very unique base, unique pose. But ever since then, I've seen a reduction in clothing continually. Like it's now like bikinis or nothing in the case of Amba for a lot. It's like barely a cloth. And so I'm assuming these two are just naked. is kind of where I'm at right now. It's a little ridiculous. It's definitely not my cup of tea. In fact, this was one of my favorite characters. I thought she was super cool, and she was fully clothed. It was a different change of pace when it came to like really cool female characters and being able to battle. But nope, let's stick them all in bikinis. It just seems. I mean, I guess if you're selling to the horny nerds, go for it. It just is unfortunate. I know it sells. But it's not something I'm super keen on covering, and because I'm just not interested in it, like at all. This one, awesome. The rest, not so much, sadly. Maybe there'll be a change of pace. But I'm kind of doubting it. It looks like they know exactly what will sell a whole lot, and they'll just do that, even if it means taking their really cool characters and just sticking him in clothing like that. It's whatever. Anyway, so I don't know if I'll cover more. We'll see. If there are any more like Tomoe, definitely. I totally will. If they're just cool characters that are unique. If it's just the same old stuff we've seen from other companies that just like to have skimpy women, then probably not. There's already several of those you can go and get. And there's a whole online database of stuff you can look at, I guess, if you're really into that stuff. But not something I'm going to cover more. So, but the store is here. STL is coming August 22nd. Be sure to look at that. And that is the new character. So now you know that. So we'll cover more. I don't know. I guess it's up to them if they get more coverage on the channel or not. But I'm not liking the direction they're going. That's for sure. It's just silly. It's not cool or interesting or even different and unique at this point. You are one of many, making minis like that now. So that's not even that special, but anyway, that's it. That's all I have, guys. Have a great rest of your day. And I will talk to you guys again very soon with some more cool news, reviews, unboxings coming up. So stay tuned for that. Take care, guys.